Welcome back to another episode of Offbeat Adventures. We're once again standing here on the grade of the former Canadian Northern Railway and later Canadian National Railways, Dorion, and then subsequently Kinghorn subdivision. We're here just northeast of the community of Beardmore. And so what we're going to be doing is we're going to be working our way from this spot right here on the grade, again, just northeast of Beardmore, right alongside what's called the Blackwater River. So we're just on the south side of the Blackwater River, and we're going to be working our way to the west, close to pass through Beardmore and on our way towards Warnford Station. Now, what we have here is we're actually at a very, very interesting spot, and I'm not going to show you what's kind of beside us here in a second, but you can actually see all along here, it's kind of a widened out area. There's all kinds of debris that's here. So you can see these, I don't know what this tarp is for, but basically the bits of metal here. And at one point, there used to be a road that actually used to cross across the Blackwater River here, across to the northern shore, up to where the highway was. And again, you can see all kinds of debris that's in here. Now, the reason for this all is we're actually at a really, really interesting spot. So this is the location of what was known as the Northern Empire Gold Mine. And so you can see pieces of the I don't know what exactly was here. I know there was some stuff that's up on the top of the ridge over here. Again, it's a little bit hard because we're kind of shooting into the sun. The sky is kind of a little bit of patchy cloud, and we're kind of getting a sunny spot right here. So you can see the massive remains of the concrete here. You can see all kinds of timbers that are in here and leftover metal debris. So this mine was opened in the 1930s, and it was kind of one of the big industries that kind of fueled the population growth here in Beardmore. And if you actually click on the link in the description, you can actually see a picture of this location, probably taken back in the 1930s. It's a winter scene, and you can basically see the tracks, and you can see this structure that is here. And again, you can see all kinds of pieces of foundation, and there's metal pipe that's here. And again, I don't know what all of these parts of these things are, but basically this area, essentially going from basically here from Beardmore, or kind of a little bit closer to Lake Nipigon, is a big sort of gold area. There's a lot of gold in the gold veins in this area, and so there was a lot of big gold developments for quite a long period of time. So starting in the 1930s here in Beardmore, a little bit farther to the east around Geraldton. Lots of little gold mines all over the place. Again, you can see sort of the massive size of the structure. You can see what looks like pipes coming out of here. We're not going to get too carried away with this thing because we're here to explore the railway line. But obviously, this was of importance to the rail line. You can see kind of the deterioration of the concrete here, and again, all of the metal that's kind of scattered all over the place here. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to hop up on the bike, and then we're going to start kind of plugging our way sort of westwardly and then southerly through Beardmore and then beyond. Okay, so we're going to hop up on the bike and leave this behind. Again, make sure you click on the link in the description and then be able to get some information about the mine and be able, again, to see some pictures of it. So let's start making our way towards Beardmore here. You can see the Blackwater River right beside us. Very, very beautiful. It's a gorgeous day. So last week we were out and we did a few hikes last week, and it was cold and it was windy. It was sunny, but just I was like bundled up, gloves, skull cap, all these types of things. I just checked the temperature, and according to this, it's right now, it's 10:30 in the morning and it's 16 degrees Celsius. Like, it's just ridiculous, the contrast. Last week we were out, it's like 3 degrees, feels like below zero with the wind chill. You can still see some vestiges of snow here. And again, the Blackwater River, not sure the name, maybe has to do with kind of some of the tannins in the water, gives it kind of a blacky kind of appearance to it. Maybe the soil. Okay, so while we're pushing our way towards Beardmore here, might be a good time to do our usual history lesson. Here comes Luna charging down the grade. I have my younger son Noah with me today, so she's kind of running back and forth between the two of us. So you can see lots of debris here. So there is a telegraph pole right in there, kind of hanging over the river, and there's another one just up here. Luna's getting her workout. She's it's hot and she's running back and forth. Okay, so let's do our history lesson here. We're going to be passing a telegraph pole. You can just see it here to my right. There's the base of the pole and the top right there. So this line again was built by Canadian Northern Railway between 1911 and 1914. It was going to be part of Canadian Northern's it was one of the last pieces in Canadian Northern's transcontinental line. And so around the turn of the century, Canadian Northern had started building one of their first pieces of line, and that was a line between the then city of Port Arthur, which is now Thunder Bay, and Winnipeg. And that line was opened in 1902. And then they began building a network of lines throughout the prairies. And then a few years later, they started building north from Toronto, and they built up into the Sudbury area. And the plan was to try to link the sections between Port Arthur and Sudbury together. Now the problem was Canadian Northern didn't really want to build that section of line because it was going to be very, very expensive. It was over 550 miles of construction through very rugged Canadian Shield terrain, and they didn't think there was going to be a ton of business on the line. So they kind of tried to get a running rights agreement with Canadian Pacific, and that didn't work out. So eventually they had to build this line. And so again, construction started in 1911, and the construction was completed by New Year's Day of 1914. And the whole line was open for traffic in 1915. Now, unfortunately, a few years after that, Canadian Northern started running into some financial difficulties. And by 1917, they were in really, really rough shape. And eventually they were taken over by the Canadian government. And then in 1918, Canadian Northern was amalgamated, merged, whatever you want to call it, into a new entity, along with a bunch of other bankrupt Canadian government-owned rail lines called Canadian Government Railways. So they were merged into what became Canadian National Railways. And that process was eventually completed 5 years later in 1923. Here you can see this little lake. It's probably a dead arm of the Blackwater River. It's called Janakka Lake, if I'm saying that right. Very, very beautiful here. And so the process was completed in 1923 with the absorption of the Grand Trunk lines. And so in 1923, the name of this line changed from the Canadian Northern Railway Nippigan Subdivision to the Canadian National Railways Dorion Subdivision. And it continued as such until 1960, when the Dorion Subdivision was merged with the more eastern Kinghorn Subdivision, and the whole line became the Kinghorn Subdivision. Okay, so and then service continued until 2005, and eventually Canadian National decided to discontinue service on the line. And starting in 2008, they started ripping up the rails, and that process was completed by 2010. Have something a little interesting here. I'm not quite sure what it is. Looks like some sort of box or something up on a, look, is that attached to a tie or just leaning against the tie? Not sure what its purpose was. There's hoses coming out of there. I don't know if that's I don't know what this is. obviously some sort of signal box here. Not sure what that is. There was a highway crossing here in Beardmore, and so I don't know if that's part of that indicator to basically start tripping his signal for the crossing. I don't know. Maybe somebody who worked on the line can let me know. Okay, so we're just going to continue plugging our way kind of southwesterly here, and we're going to be arriving in Beardmore very shortly. Okay, so we're back up on the bike here, and we're just working our way towards Beardmore. We're going to be there very shortly. I do have a culvert here. Now, unfortunately, I've seen a couple here, and we've seen very few culvert markers, and I can't read the writing on it. It's just completely illegible, which is too bad because we've really not seen any markers in this area at all. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to zip you ahead a little bit here until we actually start getting into Beardmore. As we're coming up to a crossing here, coming through this little cut, you can see there's a piece of a pole here. And so this road crossing here, just on the other side of the crossing, is the start of the station here at Beardmore. And there's a bunch of things that we're going to take a look at in there. Okay, so we've made our way across the road here. And this is again our first road crossing here in Beardmore. And what we have here is we actually have the first of several actual concrete culverts. So kind of neat to actually see these. So what we're going to do is we're going to drop down and take a look at it. Okay, so we're down here below the level of the grade. We're on the west side, I guess, east side, sorry. And so you can see here we have a very nice concrete culvert. You can see that this one's in pretty good shape. Probably has a lot to do with the fact that there's not a lot of water kind of going through this this ditch, you can call it. It's not really much of a creek. You can see that they've done some work inside the culvert. You can see the metal strapping and the reinforcements in there. So we're going to make our way over to the other side and go take a look there. All right, so we're down here on the west side. You can see the culvert here. What's kind of more interesting is the, not necessarily the culvert, it's the little stonework that they've done here. So you can actually see there's like a little stone channel, and there's a couple stone culverts that are leading under the road over there. So this is kind of really neat to see. Okay, so we're going to jump up on the grade, and we're going to start pushing through Beardmore, and the start of the siding is just a few hundred feet up ahead.